Have you ever felt trapped in a life that doesn't really satisfy you? Have you ever wondered if there is something more, a deeper meaning to your existence? And have you ever wondered why, despite technological and scientific advances, the world seems increasingly on the brink? Wars, inequalities, environmental crises, and a widespread sense of dissatisfaction and confusion seem to be the main characteristics of our society. And despite the abundance of information and opportunities, many feel lost, dissatisfied, and aimless. Have you ever wondered why? What if we told you that there is a hidden religious system, a modern-day Antichrist, that is manipulating our lives and taking us away from true happiness? If you are ready to open your mind and explore a different perspective, follow us on this journey to discover an uncomfortable truth that you need to know. And if you stick around to the end, you will discover the top 5 things you can do to protect yourself from the Antichrist's influence and regain your inner peace. The morning sun gilded the majestic peaks of the Himalayan mountains, whose snow-capped peaks seemed to touch the sky. Set in this setting of extraordinary beauty, the ancient Buddhist monastery of Taktsang, also known as the Tiger's Nest, stood majestically on the rock face, like a beacon of wisdom and spirituality. A diverse group of pilgrims, coming from every corner of the globe, had gathered in the main hall of the monastery, eager to hear the words of wisdom of the elderly monk Hìro. Among them, Christians, Buddhists, Muslims, and followers of other religions had the same hunger for wisdom. Hìro, with his saffron-colored tunic and face, marked by time and meditation, exuded an aura of peace and serenity that infected everyone present. His eyes, deep and bright like 2 stars, seemed to penetrate the soul of those who looked at him, reading their thoughts and deepest emotions. My friends, the monk began in a deep, calm voice. The world is a place of constant change, a ceaseless flow of birth and death, of creation and destruction. Yet, in this eternal becoming, many cling to illusions, to belief systems that promise eternal salvation and happiness. All things that actually distance them from true spiritual growth and understanding the impermanent nature of reality. Master, asked a young woman with long hair and green eyes, what belief systems are you referring to? I'm talking about the religious system of the Antichrist, a system that has sneakily crept into our lives, clouding our spirituality and taking us away from true happiness. A murmur of amazement and disbelief arose among those present. The monk with this term was referring to something that went beyond the religions of each present. The Antichrist is not a demonic figure with horns and a tail like the ones depicted in some movies. Hìro explained, it is a materialistic, selfish, and superficial value system that has pervaded our society, promoting greed, hatred, unbridled competition, and ignorance. It is a system that pushes us to seek happiness externally, in the accumulation of material goods in success, in fame and in power. A system that deceives us, but in reality leaves us empty and dissatisfied, incapable of finding inner peace and true joy. But how does this Antichrist manifest himself concretely in our society? Asked an elderly man with a white beard and blue eyes, trying to better understand the master's words. The Antichrist manifests himself in many ways, and every day we are pervaded by situations that amplify this sad reality, replied Hìro. We see it in advertising that bombards us with messages that make us feel inadequate, insecure, and in need of products and services to be happy and accepted. We are told that our happiness depends on the possession of objects, physical appearance, social success, and the constant search for new experiences. But this is a lie. True happiness is not found in external things, but in inner peace, compassion, and wisdom. Hìro continued, we see it in the culture of consumerism that pushes us to buy more and more, even when we don't really need it. And this fuels a vicious cycle of production and consumption that is destroying our planet. We are told that happiness is found in the accumulation of material goods, but in reality, this unbridled rush to consumption leaves us dissatisfied and distances us from true happiness, which lies in simplicity, gratitude, and sharing. We also see it in the race for success and power, which makes us sacrifice our health, our relationships, and our happiness to achieve ephemeral and often illusory goals. We are told that success and power will bring us happiness, but in reality, they often only bring us stress, anxiety, and loneliness. Hìro paused, scrutinizing the faces of those present in order to understand what emotions were going through them. Then he continued, "The Antichrist also manifests himself in politics, where we see leaders who fuel fear, division, and hatred to maintain power, rather than working for the common good. We are told that we must fear what is different, that we must compete with each other, that force and violence are the only tools to resolve conflicts. But this is a distorted view of reality. True peace and true prosperity can only be achieved through cooperation, dialogue, and mutual understanding. We see it in religion, where there are fundamentalists who use faith to justify violence, intolerance, and discrimination. We are told that our religion is the only true one, that others are infidels, and that we must fight them to defend our faith. But this is a perversion of religion. True faith teaches us to love our neighbors, to forgive our enemies, and to seek peace and harmony with all living beings. We see this in the entertainment industry, which distracts us with superficial and violent entertainment, taking us away from reflection, inner growth, and connection with our true nature. We are told that happiness is found in unbridled fun, escapism, and the search for strong emotions. But this is a trap. True happiness is not found in escapism, but in facing reality with courage. True happiness is achieved when we find meaning in our life and when we cultivate our spirituality. But how can we free ourselves from this system? A middle-aged woman asked, a hint of concern on her face. Hìro smiled and began to tell the story of Siddhartha Gautama, the prince who gave up a life of comfort and privilege to seek truth and liberation. Siddhartha, said the monk, realized that true happiness is not found in sensual pleasures, wealth, or power, but in liberation from suffering and spiritual enlightenment. He undertook a long and difficult journey of inner research, which led him to discover the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. That is, the path to liberation from the cycle of birth and death, from suffering and illusion. Hìro continued explaining how Siddhartha, after years of ascetic practices and meditation, achieved enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, becoming the Buddha, the enlightened one. The Buddha taught that suffering is caused by attachment, greed, and ignorance, and that the path to liberation lies in cultivating wisdom, compassion, and awareness. But what can we do, in our own small way, to protect ourselves from the influence of the Antichrist? Asked a young man, eager to put his mentor's teachings into practice. There are 5 basic things each of us can do to save ourselves from this Antichrist. Hìro replied, cultivating awareness is the first thing we should all focus on. We must learn to be aware of our thoughts, emotions, and actions. We must observe how our mind is influenced by the messages of the Antichrist, which push us towards consumerism, selfishness, and the search for external gratifications. We learn to discern what is true from what is false, what is useful from what is harmful. Meditation and mindfulness are powerful tools for developing this awareness. Just dedicate a few minutes every day to meditation to be able to be present to yourself, so that our true essence emerges and saves us. Practicing compassion was the second thing the monk talked about. We must cultivate compassion for ourselves and others, he said with a smile on his lips. We must learn to forgive our mistakes and those of others, to understand the suffering of others, and to act with kindness, generosity, and altruism, he continued. Remember that compassion is the key to overcoming the selfishness and greed that the Antichrist fuels. When we open ourselves to compassion, we connect with our shared humanity and realize that we are all interconnected. Seeking the truth is another thing we should focus on. We must seek the truth with an open mind and a sincere heart, he said. We must study different spiritual traditions, explore different philosophies of life, and find our own path to spiritual fulfillment. We must not blindly accept what we are told, but we must question our beliefs and seek our inner truth. Always remember that truth is not found in dogmas or ideologies, but in the direct experience of reality. Living in simplicity is another fundamental point on which Hìro focused. We must learn to live more simply, reducing our consumption of material goods and focusing on what is truly important. Our relationships, our health, our spiritual growth, and our contributions to the world are the most precious things. Simplicity frees us from the burden of materialism and allows us to appreciate the little joys of life. Connecting with nature, continued the monk, is equally important if we want to live at peace with ourselves and fight the Antichrist. We need to rediscover our connection with nature by spending time outdoors, admiring the beauty of the natural world and learning from it. Nature teaches us the importance of balance, interdependence, and respect for all forms of life. It reminds us that we are part of a greater whole and that our happiness depends on the health of our planet. Hìro, while the pilgrims listened to him with great attention, made an invitation to all of them. My friends, the path to liberation is not easy, but is the only one that leads to true happiness. Don't be afraid to challenge convention, seek your truth, and live an authentic and meaningful life. Remember that true happiness is not found in external things, but in inner peace, compassion, and wisdom. And remember that you are not alone on this journey. Buddha, Jesus, Krishna, and all the great spiritual masters have shown us the way. Follow their teachings and you will find your way to liberation.